Welcome to the world of the highly unlikely, but just slightly possible. My name is Emma. 3 years ago, I'd barely even picked up a camera, but as you're about to see, I learned really quickly. So much gets left out of history because it doesn't seem important at the time. But what you're about to see is all true. My part in this strange story began when my university lecturer, Sylvie Gaspard, invited me to assist her on a research trip to France.
Thank you. Okay. Good, Em. Oh. And action.
This painting has been in my family for over 100 years. I believe it's by the famous Belgian artist James Ensor. I've always suspected that he's been a key influence on Breton and the Surrealists. This trip is my opportunity to prove that theory. Good, Emma? Okay. So, let's talk about the inner recesses of the human mind. 2 French poets, Arthur Rimbaud and André Breton, explored the unconscious in 2 very different ways. Dreams, drugs, a very different version of reality, from the transcendent to the surreal.
Three days later, Sylvie received an unusual invitation.
So, Peter, tell us about your uncle.
Well, my great uncle, James McPherson, fought in the Great War in France, but eventually he came home a broken man. Apparently, he used to live in a world of his own. Hardly ever left his room. He was always drinking. And he was working on these really strange paintings. There's hundreds of them. And it was always the same subject. This smoking dog. All right, mate. So it's the photograph. All right.
Wow.
This is a painting.
Wow, that is so weird. Same dog that's in my Ensor painting. And there was another man in Europe obsessively painting the same dog.
One month later, Sylvie visits a small museum in Antwerp dedicated to the almost forgotten painter, Hugo Zanck. Zanck had been a patient in the same shell shock ward as the young Australian James McPherson.
In this painting by the Belgian Hugo Zanck, we see a portrait of the vagabond who wanders the world in search of questions that have no answers.
It's like he's looking at us across an ocean of time. It's about the dog, isn't it? He's at the center of this whole mystery. All the paintings come back to him. So who was he?
Perhaps he never knew. As the dog became more human, he found himself caught between 2 worlds. Here, Zeng shows him deeply confused. He's smoking now a need rather than a trick. Chin chin.
Shell shock patients, smoking dogs, surrealists. Why hasn't anybody ever put all this together before now?
Perhaps you'll be the one to do it, Sylvie. Could the answers lie in your painting?
Perhaps this story goes back to 1918, when both McPherson and Zach were shell shock patients in the same ward. Their young doctor, André Breton, would later found the Surrealist movement, inspired by his experiences here. Their Chinese nurse had a knack with training animals.
A forgotten work by Ensor. A smoking dog. Where are the preliminary sketches, eh? It seems to exist entirely in thematic isolation. No, more likely it was done by a journeyman artist. There are plenty of those around. The whole farcical claim has been constructed on nothing but wishful thinking.
I don't care what anyone says. I know that smoking dog really lived. I know that he was real. Emma, turn that off!
Okay.
I wish these ludicrous phantoms would return to where they came from. The overheated imaginations of some very dubious researchers.
To believe in the smoking dog is to believe in the power of questions. And questions are the most valuable things we have.
I've seen things. Things some men believe they can recall.